I swear, some guests just don't read. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Jamie Wolfer. I'm your online wedding planner. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing how much information is too much information for your guests to process and what should and should not be included on your wedding website. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. This Reddit thread says, I swear some guests just don't read. Our wedding is this coming Saturday and we are buzzing around, excited and anxious, but everything is mostly ready. I am, although, increasingly perplexed by how a lot of guests handle any sort of practical information. I made a very clear and informative website a year ago. Took me a lot of time. All capitals. She's screaming at us. With everything they need to know. Addresses, transportation, solutions, lodging, program, utilities, dietary restrictions, etc. I was worried older guests might struggle with it, but surprisingly, zero issue on their part. No one asked me any questions. I double-checked with them and they were all fine. Yeah, we saw this and that on the website. Seems fine. So I take that for a sign that the website is legible. Cool. Good. Got the basics covered. I know that traveling to a wedding is always a chore. We have a lot of people coming from all over the country. To compensate, we are offering free lodging on site for everyone the whole weekend. Oh my gosh. And I have presented various transportation solutions for people to organize. To be honest, we have done our very best for it to be as smooth as possible for everyone. We told them that we don't expect money or gifts. We just want them to be there. Cue today. We are D-4. I've received messages upon messages from people being absolutely lost. Like, where are we sleeping? Is it in X city? Is there a train station nearby? I have been sending back, it's all on the website, at least 13 times in the past 2 days. It's all on the website, friends. Please just go read the website. And it's all young people. This website has been sent out and available for pretty much a year now. The RSVP was on it. They answered it. So now I know they have used it and know it exists. People are discovering right now that the lodging is free. Like, were they expecting to think about where to sleep and look for hotels less than a week before the event? I admit I enjoy the sudden relief on their face once I tell them it's free, but I can't help but worry. What was your plan if it wasn't? Fortunately, most people that need to travel to come here have been cautious and planned their trip. But even for people that live in our city, it's still either a 1-hour drive or a 1.5-hour train trip and needing someone to pick them up from the station. Venue is 7 minutes away by car, but an hour away on foot. The website states to notify us if people come by train so we can organize pickups. Why? Why would you do that to yourself? I provided car and train itineraries and a carpool sheet on the website for people to organize themselves. Oh my gosh, few people have used these tools, but there's like roughly 10 guests that don't have cars and are either too late to get a seat in a carpool or decided to book train tickets without even telling us. I already have feelings. For example, I have a guest arriving at the train station at 10 in the morning the day of. We won't be there until 3 p.m. She booked her ticket weeks ago and just never told us. Hell, I wouldn't even know if I hadn't asked her this morning how she was planning to come. Gut feeling, LOL. We are certainly laughing out loud alongside you. I asked how she expected us to pick her up and she was like, I don't really know. I guess I would call you when I arrive. Girl, I am now making rounds amongst all our guests to make sure everyone has their transportation planned and cramming people into my family's cars last minute. Exactly what I wanted not to do by providing as many tools as possible for all guests to organize themselves in autonomy as adults. All guests are 30 plus years old, mind you. And I will not even touch on other matters like dress code. There is none. They can come in their PJs if they want, just 2 simple colors to avoid, already too difficult for some people. And program. So you said the ceremony's at 4 p.m. That means I can arrive at 4:30, right? This is where lying about your start time gets people. Nope. Also, we have written in big letters that lodging is free, but people need to bring their sleeping bags /plaid/blankets because beds don't have blankets. I know this can be annoying. If people want to pay for a hotel, they absolutely can, but this is the free option we are providing. Oh my gosh, there's so much to keep track of. This has been written, said, repeated, written again for more than a year now. 5 days ago, I sent everyone a PDF with all the information again. Today, fiance reminds it again to some guests, gut feeling ×2, and lo and behold, total surprise, absolute shock. People have never heard of this and are panicking because they don't have any covers to bring. We were already planning to bring all the extra covers and blankets we have just in case, but I don't know if we'll have enough. I know transportation and lodging is always an issue, but why did you RSVP yes without even checking where the event was? Without reading the very bright red, very important information page I had carefully put in front of you. I think we've been doing our best to be flexible and arranging, but I can't do it if people literally don't read what I send them. This is, to be honest, a bit infuriating. My father told me this 2 years ago. You have to treat guests like children. Always assume they are lost and need a hand. And I brushed him off, but dang, I feel like he was right. I'm obviously a little bit stressed right now, so the need to vent is high, but I'm still excited to see all of them. LOL. Again, we're laughing so hard and out loud too. And hopefully they'll be too tired and drunk to get cold. LMAO. Okay. There was an edit that was written at the top of the page. I'm going to go ahead and touch on that real quick before I give my thoughts on this. Edit, the wedding has passed and was amazing and beyond everything we could dream of. I was stressed out the days before and had a good vent on here with my now husband, never expecting this to blow up. LMAO. This person laughs a lot. And I love this for you. We even sent the post to guests and everyone had a good laugh. I'll be leaving these subreddits soon now that I'm graduated. I wish all the people still planning a great time and hopefully not too much stress. Wedding websites are a glorious creation, okay? I personally love them. Whenever I'm working with a couple, I'll go take a look at their wedding website. If I'm invited to an event, I'll go poke around the website. If they took the time to write a bio for every single one of their wedding party members, I'm gonna read it. And I'm going to chuckle alongside you, and I'm going to pretend like I know what you're talking about when you mentioned that inside joke that only the two of you understand what's going on there. But I'm going to go look at it because this is my area of expertise and interest. That's something that I'm automatically going to do, especially if I need to tell my couples like, hey, you need to make these adjustments on this page, or hey, this part was a little bit unclear, etc., etc. You know, that's kind of a bit of my job. So of course, in natural day-to-day life, if I'm invited as a guest to an event, I'm going to be looking at this information. I'm also very much a researcher, okay? So like if I don't have information, I will go look it up. I will figure out a way to discover this information. I will figure out the train schedule the day of and the day before the wedding as a just in case, not to mention the day after, to make sure I know how I'm getting to and from this location. I will also search how long it takes me to get from the train station to the venue. Because again, if I'm traveling myself in a professional capacity, I need to know how to get there. In a personal capacity, I also know that couples will be inherently very bugged the day before the wedding and the week leading up to the wedding with questions like this. So I make it my mission to make sure I am an A+ student, okay? And I study this event and I get in there and I try to figure it out. I do this to offset the amount of people that will not be doing that. Now, to be fair, at first glance, it sounds like this couple is not doing anything incorrect. Here are the things that you need to have on your wedding website. 1, your first and last name and a photo of both of you. Like a photo of both of your faces, as a just in case there's another Tim and Ashley getting married in Austin, Texas on October 25th. You just want to add that little bit of clarity of like, yeah, you're in the correct place. You then also need very specific details, like the date, the start time, and the location of one or both of your venues on your wedding day. So if you're getting married at a ceremony location and then moving to a reception location afterwards, that needs to be conveyed with crystal clear clarity. We don't need a paragraph explaining it. We need a very simple statement, if not bullet points. In fact, when we say precise location, I'm gonna take it one step further. You need to write the entire address of that location or those locations down. We can't skip the zip code. We can't skip the state. We can't skip the city. You need to write all of it down in case someone copies and pastes it into their own GPS, or if there's a street name that's similar. I don't know if you've ever gotten lost using GPS, but I most certainly have, so you need to be very, very clear with this. Bonus points if you could put in something like a Google Maps link, right? So here it is, you click on it, it pops open on your phone, you can set up the directions, or you can copy and paste it over into Waze or Apple Maps or whatever works for you. But you need to be very clear with this. Notice I didn't say you need to over-explain this. You just need to have everything written correctly and very clearly. Next would be a very clear RSVP section. Most wedding websites offer this. I think the most popular ones today would be The Knot, Zola, and With Joy. Those are the top 3 that we tend to see. I did a whole video breaking down the different wedding websites if you want to go ahead and check that out. We just see people most frequently flocking to those, and all of them have RSVP capabilities. So that's where your guests can go and mark down that they will be attending your event. And then, if applicable, specify meal choices and or any dietary restrictions at that point as well. There also absolutely needs to be a link to your registry. If you have multiple registries, you can go ahead and link those there. If you're using Honey Fund for your honeymoon funding, you can go ahead and link that there. If you're not having a registry at all, obviously put that information there. If you're going to charge your guests up to $1,000 to attend your event, this might also be where you're putting that information. And last but not least, accommodation and travel. This could be a designated room block that you already have set up at 1 or 2 or multiple hotel locations in the area for your guests to stay at, to take advantage of whatever deal you might have secured through the specific hotel to save your guests a little bit of moolah. You also can list out transportation options like a shuttle that's transporting people back and forth from specific hotel locations, and or phone numbers for taxi services if you want to make it a little bit easier for your guests. Notice the really specific language that we're using here though. Options. Why am I specifically calling this to attention. Most guests are used to having options when they travel for a wedding. Options of different hotels they can stay at, options of carpooling if they want to, options of taking a shuttle service if you're offering that. There's a reason I did an entire video about hating wedding shuttles, okay? Because once you limit the amount of options that is considered societally normal for a lot of the events that we do, things get extra complicated. You remove the option of choice that most people are typically used to, you will become an administrator at your own wedding. And of course, you can put a weekend itinerary on there if you want to. You can put a dress code if you have some sort of specificity to it as well. Again, that's typically just one line. We don't need a paragraph of description. We don't need a link to your Pinterest board with guest outfit ideas. You can have that there if you want to. Just remember, the more information you load onto this website, the more confused a lot of your guests are going to be. They're looking for just the basic information, get in there, get the info, and get out as quickly as possible. And honestly, in my experience, it totally tracks that the older generations are totally fine with it, read all the information, understood what was on the website, and it's the younger generations that are completely befuddled by this entire thing. Now, there's one specific detail that I just want to call attention to real quick. This information was sent out a year prior. Yes, they said they followed up and resent it out again, fully aware of that, okay? This information was sent out a year prior, a big bulk of information for those who are good researchers to take a look at and know that they could refer to and come back to, but possibly, and with very good reason, might have overwhelmed everybody else. And frankly, if we're sending out a PDF only 5 days before the event, then we might have missed our sweet spot for where we're supposed to be delivering this information. There's a reason why we specifically pinpoint between 12 to 6 weeks as the perfect time frame to send out your full invitation suite, because very likely anything you send before that at earliest 3-month time frame is going to be forgotten or dismissed, especially if it's outside of the norm, and especially if it's written with a lot of words or in paragraph form or in heavy detail, as opposed to bullet points, which of course a lot of this information we don't know because we haven't seen the website. So naturally I went to my bestie over at ChatGPT and I was like, hey, can you help me explain this in a way that's better than my brain could put together? And my bestie Chat said, you bet. Here's what we got. Timing, 6 to 12 months beforehand. Memory impact, too early, likely remembered shallowly. Guest impact, good for save the date, low detail. And this is why it perfectly coincides with save the date information when you send it out 6 to 12 months in advance. Here's our names, here's what our faces look like. Don't worry, you'll see them on the save the date. Here's the date that it's happening on, and here's the city that it's happening in. For those of you that would like to start researching, it's made available to you. Also, it exists on the website if you'd like to go start researching that. The heavy detail of information, though, should not be delivered until, according to ChatGPT, 4 to 8 weeks in advance. I'm going to go ahead and push it out to 12 weeks in advance. If you choose to skip sending a save the date, you'll need to give your guests a little bit more time if they're traveling from a different state, from abroad, etc. If you have a lot of people traveling, you want to give them a little bit more time to make those travel accommodations, I will allow that window to be a little bit bigger. But at 4 to 8 weeks before, that reminder will fall after the major memory decay. So basically it's like, hey, you saw this, you might have poked around the website. Here's all the information that you need. So it's fresh, it's relevant, it's right up here. Especially if you're doing anything outside of the norm, like attire requirements, like free lodging, everyone staying here, specific shuttle requirements, specific travel requirements. That time frame hits perfectly when guests start planning their travel accommodations. That official invitation with all that information hits perfectly when guests start planning out all their travel accommodations. Or I should say most guests start planning out travel accommodations. As we've obviously seen in this thread, and if you worked in the industry or you planned an event before, you'll realize that some people just fly by the seat of their pants and that's how they live their life. I don't understand. It makes me uncomfortable, but hey, to each his own, right? And then if you need to, if it's really heavy on details, you can send another reminder a week before and or a day before to refresh everybody of the logistics. But ideally, in a scenario like this, you shouldn't need to. Weddings have at least the culture with which that we typically work, they have a pretty typical cadence, a pretty typical expectations. It's just when you have a lot of heavy details, you're breaking outside the norm, you're offering things like free lodging, but bring your own bedding. Like, this is not a normal thing. Yes, it does sound nice, but you're creating extra work for your guests to have to remember these things. You will need to be a little bit more diligent in delivering that information. Now, I already know what some of you are going to say, okay? They're still adults. They could still go read it. You know what? Yeah, they could. You're right. I'm not necessarily defending their behavior. I'm just explaining some patterns in how some human brains work, and I'm trying to save you the headache of having everyone blow up your phone the week before the wedding, as opposed to a handful of people who, regardless of what you do, will need to have their hand held throughout the entire booking process. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump to the comments of this and see what Reddit says. Because more often than not, Most of the commenters have very strong opinions that are not always aligned with mine. To the comment section. Your father is 100% right. I plan events for a living and no one ever reads the full invite. It's the biggest test/lesson in patience. That said, when a ton of the same questions keep happening, especially for personal events like my own birthday or something, I always refer people back to the source of information, whether it's a partial invite, a physical RSVP, or a big old text message. I do it with good-natured intent because it kind of trains people that your response isn't going to change. They're reminded of a resource that you put time and effort into creating. Congrats on the wedding and good luck sorting the lodging. It will all come together. Not gonna lie, I'm probably one of the few people that read the whole invite. I'd like to be prepared, otherwise I stress out. Now my husband, on the other hand, no, so for real, my husband will look up a restaurant that he wants to go to just to look through the menu because he enjoys doing that, not for any sort of anxious reason. He just likes to look through the menu ahead of time. Like for his birthday one year, I took him to get tattooed by one of his favorite artists, and he spent barely any time looking up the tattoo and probably an hour looking up all the different food places that we could potentially go to. We are just two different people. I would also take it a step further from this event planner and say, if you're getting the same questions over and over and over again, my guess is because you're breaking things outside the norm, and it's really confusing some people. Even though you were really clear, even though you gave this information, we missed that sweet spot of information delivery, and it might have been embedded in a lot of information, and you're also not doing things normally. So those three things combined lead to obvious disaster when it comes to guest communication. Please seriously consider turning your phone off now. These last few days are sacred. They'll either figure it out or they won't. Congratulations and have fun. Thanks. You're right. My witness told me the same. I'll be disconnecting tomorrow, going to bed now. Good. I'm so glad that OP was like, you know what? You're right. Because at a certain point, most, if not all guests will indeed actually figure it out. They will go, oh, wait, maybe I'll go back to that website that all the words on it from a year ago I forgot existed. I'm a college professor and a bunch of my students are the same way. I would fully expect a bunch of panicked emails several hours before the deadline asking me about stuff I already explained in the syllabus or in class. I could never. In college, I always looked for all the information before contacting a professor because I never wanted to look like the goober that didn't read the syllabus. But apparently there's lots of goobers. I don't understand it and can't wager a guess beyond people don't really plan that well and expect me to spoon feed them everything. This person replied, each year I provide a comprehensive set of instructions for an annual process at work. This year I redesigned it to be easier to use. Nope, still a ton of questions that are answered in the documentation. Today my boss's boss told me he followed the instructions and I checked and he didn't. Even the people who read can't figure it out. Okay, so basically you're lost. You're screwed. Just ignore everything I said, okay? Throw it in the middle of a paragraph. Who cares? Bullet points. You're going to have to re-explain it anyways. The world is lost. This one guest expected you to pick her up from the train station on the day of your wedding. These are the people, I'm not making excuses for them, okay? I'm just trying to save you as many texts and phone calls as possible. This one could not be saved. Very, very likely could not be saved. Unless you didn't have your phone on you, which is a strong recommendation I have for my couples. I'll just be like, hey, by the way, don't have your phone on you. Like, give it to your maid of honor. Give it to your mom. Have someone be fielding these requests and these phone calls so you don't have to day of, because it happened on my wedding. It's happened to almost every couple I've ever worked with. People are contacting them day of with ridiculous statements like, where's parking? Or we're going to be a few minutes late. I'm so sorry. I can't wait to see you. I hope you're having fun getting ready, etc., etc. Or, hey, where's that last tablecloth? Or, hey, it's 10 a.m. on your wedding day. Can you come pick me up from the train station? You know, things like that. When the first of our 4 kids got married, I, an old lady, first started using Pinterest and honed in on the wedding stuff. I came across a worksheet-like thing called Please Don't Call the Bride. Brilliant. Under it was a list of questions and problems a guest might have. Everything from how to get from the airport to the hotel, emergency situations like the airline lost my luggage, where can I get a decent off-the-rack suit? Freaking people, no ma'am. You Google it, okay? Most importantly, next to each item on the list was a name and phone number of someone in the bridal party or family who was in charge of answering those questions or solving those problems. Last minute dietary restriction, the mother of the groom is the point of contact for the caterer, like that. It's probably too late for you to find volunteers to handle these questions and problems and then get this info up on your website. At this point, I would still try to put up something that explains you're very busy with last minute tasks, ask the Mayer family and bridal party to volunteer to be points of contact and publish their names and numbers, or forward those annoying texts to them. If it's too late for this idea to be helpful for you, at least you've warned future brides, and maybe it will help them. Those worksheets are all over Pinterest with different templates. Hopefully one will fit their situation. Honestly, if we've got a whole list of phone numbers that you can call, I personally feel like that's overcomplicating things. I would not go as far as this mom is suggesting, even though she's so sweet and so intentional. That sounds like a lot of admin work to me, and maybe not necessarily that fruitful in the long run. Teacher here of high school students. Older folks grew up without the internet or GPS, and so are used to searching for info, making plans, navigating a complex world, and sorting out their needs. Gen Z has extremely limited research skills, low self-reliance, and a serious inability to act or think for themselves, due in part to helicopter parents and in part to dopamine rot from TikTok shorts. 2 quick case studies from the classroom. Today, my students had to cut out and assemble a very simple learning aid. Basically, cut out 2 comic panels and glued them together. Over half of them immediately cut off the instructions and threw them away without reading a word, then asked me how to do it. Did I mention this is high school? Oh, goodness gracious. Another student asked me where to find a worksheet he was missing. With a good bit of difficulty, I directed him to the document shelves stacked on the student supply table. He'd been in my room more than 3 months, but didn't believe any such shelves existed. Nuh-uh. No, they're right there. No, they're not. No, they're not. It's right there. No. No, it's not. It's like my toddler. When he finally discovered them, he stood in front of the stack with a look of bewilderment. But which document is it? Oh, goodness gracious. There were 3. I just looked at him. Please don't ask me to cross the room and read out the titles to you. I have every confidence you can figure this out. Took him 5 minutes, but he got there in the end. You're being way too nice, though it also says a lot about you as a person in a good way. These are all adults, right? I know it can be frustrating, but sometimes people do really need to figure things out themselves and not have someone cater to their every need. Otherwise, they'll never learn. And I know that might cause some things to not go perfect, but that never happens anyway. I'm a teacher, and while I, of course, want my students, teenagers, to succeed, they sometimes have to learn the hard way because otherwise they'll never learn to take responsibility. Well, yes, this is a very sweet statement and a very sweet sentiment. If you're breaking outside of the norm, there will obviously be a certain percentage of people that go, huh? What? What'd you say? I don't understand. The words? I can't read them. I need you to text them to me personally. I can only read things via text and not via the wedding website. It's an astigmatism. I have an aversion to reading things with my eyes that are not in text message form. So that will happen regardless. It's compounded by the fact that you're not doing things normally. You're trying to be sweet, you're trying to be gracious, offer accommodation, help with travel, and really what ends up happening is you're kind of just making things a little bit more complicated and a little bit more chaotic. You should try running a scout camp sometime. Give the parents a gear list, directions to the campsite, supposedly idiot-proof instructions bordering on baby-splaining, and just know you're going to have to deal with the consequences of people failing to read and do it with a smile. In short, I feel your pain. Now again, remember, bear in mind, I will be researching it. I will be reading all the things. I'm not necessarily defending these people. I don't understand how their brain works. I've just been doing this long enough to know that they do exist, okay? I'm here to save you, not explain them, because I don't get it. But we're in this together, and we're going to make sure your phone's not getting blown up, okay? Okay. Whatever happened to simple weddings that don't require so much work on the part of the guests? Ooh. Don't wear this color. I get an invitation. I buy a gift. I dress tastefully according to location of the wedding and formality of the event. I go. Maybe I even travel there. That's it. I surely don't want to travel to a wedding carrying my bedding. Free lodging but need blankets and sheets and pillows? Sounds like cots. Need to arrange a carpool with people I may or may not know, all while carrying our bedding around? Huh? And I was emailed this info a year ago and was supposed to keep minutia at the forefront of my life for a year. A basic, straightforward itinerary is good. Honestly, it seems like a lot of hoops for the travelers. Just because it's free doesn't mean it's hassle-free. Why does it need to be so much? I'm tired, confused, and broke before I even get there after reading through this. Someone replied, you get what you pay for. What if I'm flying? I would need to bring a separate suitcase just for my bedding. Bringing your own bedding is weird. Again, the couple's trying to be super sweet and provide free lodging for everyone. That bedding thing is going to get a lot of people. It's just dropping them like flies at this point. Okay, this comment. I'm an UX designer, which means user interface / user experience designer. And a former teacher. Your dad was right. In situations where you're asking people to do something complicated that they don't do all the time, giving them directions a year in advance is a mistake. You should have resent the PDF as a printed document a few weeks before the wedding and included a QR code for a wedding FAQ. No one except you and your parents are all that interested in your wedding. In fact, a lot of people probably feel like it's a big pain in the you-know-what, and for that reason, they put it out of their minds till the very last minute when they're forced to think about it. Live and learn, but don't be mad at your guests. Hot take. This person said, I also work in UX. And this was my same reaction. People way overestimate other people's ability to take information and care about taking in that information. We're all so overstimulated and trying to do so much. People don't have the mental resources to dedicate to reading your entire website, whether it's a wedding website or one of my clients' websites. It's interesting to see OPs thinking, since UX brain is all about how the audience is likely to respond, not how we wish they would respond. And one stat I use a lot is that most people only read 20% of anything you give them and skim the rest. Event planner here. People are stupid at times. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and put a pin in the comments because, oh my goodness. I hope you're leaving this video feeling encouraged. One, if you haven't written your wedding website yet, don't overcomplicate things. Try to keep it really simple. Bullet points are best. If you need to do paragraphs, keep it for the fun stuff, not the deep informational things. If you send out the information a year in advance, it will be forgotten, and you will need to send them an actual invitation, either reminding them of the specific information they need via a full invitation suite or redirecting them to your website because you have very specific requirements for them to follow. Okay, I lied. I forgot about this one. I wanted to read this one. Okay, why is it that people, when they post on Reddit, feel like they have to write a freaking book? Just give the bullet points. If I have to scroll and scroll and scroll, I stopped reading. So what's the issue again? This is the dude that would show up late to your wedding or would get lost or would call you to try to figure out how to get into the parking lot that has 4 entrances, okay? Someone said if the website is like this post, I can see why people didn't read it. Too many words. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. And as always, if you liked the video, jump on down there, like the video, and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. If you are finding yourself in the throes of wedding planning and wanting to absolutely tear your hair out, whether it's because of guest management or trying to define your vision or your goals or work on your budget or figure out the vibe or book the vendors or any of those details, please come join me in the master plan. I walk you through a 9-step process that gets you from point A to wedding day as seamlessly as possible. You don't have to do this alone. I want to make sure this process is as stress-free as possible for you. So come join me in the master plan. And until next week, bye guys.